Welcome to Balance and Beyond, the podcast for ambitious women who refuse to accept burnout as the price of success. Here, we're committed to empowering you with the tools and strategies you need to achieve true balance, where your career, relationships, and health all thrive, and where you have the power to define success on your terms. I honour the space you've created for yourself today. So let's take a breath and dive right in. Today, we are talking about chains, and we are talking about the chains that actually keep us stuck, whether we realize it or not. There are a range of forces that hold us back in life. And today I've got Sabina joining me. Welcome, Sabina.
Hello, Jo. Nice to be back with you.
Yes, and we are talking about, it's a word that is bandied around a lot, but it's also a word that I think is quite misunderstood. So today we're talking about loyalty and how this, whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, could be something that's really, really holding you back. So Sabina, talk to me about the word loyalty. It can be loaded. It can be really important to many people. What's going on with that word?
Yeah, well, I think it's something that is very close to our hearts, particularly as women, and it can have both positive and negative connotations. Now, I'm not talking about this from the point of view of matrimonial vows of loyalty, although that could be the case. But something that I've really noticed over my career is our relationship with how loyal we are to people, circumstances, employers. And yeah, as I said, we're sometimes conscious of it and sometimes not. And it can be like an invisible chain that keeps you stuck from feeling deserving of admitting to yourself what you want or claiming what you want. And it can be incredibly subtle, but very, very powerful. And I hear different flavors of this issue through the many, many conversations that I have with clients. And I think it's something that's really important to talk about, to shine a light of consciousness on it.
Mm. And these vows, as you said, can show up in many places. What's one place that you think is perhaps the most common or the most limiting, let's say? I mean, I'm sure there are many, but where's one place you see it kicking in most?
Yeah, it's fascinating how often women don't speak up for what they want because they don't feel deserving. But when you unpick it, there can be these vows or beliefs that attach their level of deserving and success to what's going on for others around them. So it might be, I don't dare ask for a promotion or a REM review because, my colleague in accounts has been here longer than me and she's really up for promotion, or she's working really hard and I don't really feel right asking. It's this constant comparison of yourself against your worth with your colleagues. Oh, I'm not really doing a good enough job, even though a part of you knows damn well that, you've put in the work, you've produced the results, it's time for your performance review, and you still don't speak up. And sometimes we're aware of what's holding us back, but sometimes we're not. So asking yourself the question, who do I think might judge me? Would I appear to people that I don't really deserve it? What would people say? Or who do I think might be positively or negatively affected if I get more success, more money, more ease? And we're often not conscious of this. And so we don't even put ourselves in the picture or put our hands up or put our hat in the ring. So comparing yourself to colleagues, thinking that, they've done a better job than you, that's a classic. It also happens, in terms of asking professional development support, in our coaching program. is sometimes very well embraced by employers, but we also find that women don't even ask if there's a professional development budget available because they think, oh, if I get some money put towards my development, then someone else misses out. And that's a zero-sum game.
Yeah, I was going to say that what that reminded me of is that whole belief system that there's never enough to go around, and that if you take some, then you're taking away from somebody else that you mentioned you don't deserve it or there's not enough. And therefore, if you take the budget, that means other people are going to miss out. And it's this constant putting everybody else before you without realizing that actually, if I win and I take professional development budget, or I get the promotion, or I get the pay rise, or go on that project, what if everybody else around me also wins if I win? So as opposed to it being lose lose, because I find even when I've had women come to me and they've been given generous pay rises only to freak out about, oh my gosh, they're going to find out how much I'm paid. They're going to think that I'm now become this head honcho and this snob, and they can't relate to me anymore. And I'm going to lose my friends at work because they now find out that I've got this big promotion. So we completely hold ourselves back in a strange vow of loyalty, almost to being equal with everybody else. I don't know what it is, whether it's like you mentioned, this comparisonitis, but it's also this vow of, I don't want to rise above. I want to be the same as everybody else, because perhaps thinking out loud here is, that being same is safe. If you were to ask for the pay rise or get a promotion, you're going to be different to everybody else.
That's right. There's that. I mean, there's so many different flavors. It's endlessly fascinating. Or I don't want to shine too bright because I don't want to make anyone else feel less than. If I shine too bright, the spotlight will be on me, and then there's even more pressure. And what if people find out that or think that I'm not worth it? Oh, that's got a bit of an ouch to it. I don't want other people to miss out, and they're just as worthy as me or more worthy. So it's all these perceived judgments or worries that are like these vows and chains that stop us from thinking, well, actually, if I allow myself to develop or receive more, what else could I share with others? If I develop myself, the reality is that everybody in my sphere gets to benefit. There's a totally different way of thinking about it. So, some of those thoughts are conscious, some are subconscious, but that's just in the workplace, Joe. It applies in so many different facets of life. It could be in your social group. Will I appear to be too flashy if I get, help at home, or if I upgrade my car, or if I mean, I'm talking about material things. This isn't the only issue, but is there part of you that is secretly worried that you will no longer be part of your group and there will be judgments? Might you lose something that feels really valuable to you, perhaps a sense of belonging, if things start to get easier for you, or more success, more happiness, more reward, more love, whatever it is, doesn't have to be in the workplace. And then also, the place which I find absolutely fascinating, and this is from a personal point of view, do you have vows of loyalty towards your family of origin, namely your family?
This comes up particularly in the case of wealth and success, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And what's interesting, there can either be this, commitment vow, whatever you want to call it, to either never move too far from the baseline of what's acceptable in your family, to stay loyal, or to totally rebel against it. And I'm never going to be like that. Watch me. And both of those can sabotage your success. I'll share a story if I can. About, how this became very relevant in my life. So, I'm English, and I had two immigrant parents. My mum was from Europe, my dad was from Asia, and they were very, very intelligent, very, very capable people, but they came over to England in the 60s and they never got a break. They just were in struggle town for years and years and years. And I was a top achiever, went to uni, got a top grade. And by the time I was 24, I was already earning more than they did when they retired. I was working for one of the world's top branding agencies, working in new business development, and I was rocking it. And
Own it, baby, own it.
I was rocking it, and I was rocking it not only in terms of my family, but also my friendship group. Some of my friends were still traveling, having a great time, and I was rising through the ranks. And on the one hand, it felt amazing, but deep down, something wasn't sitting with me so well. And it was like this, grain of sand that was just, something didn't sit right. And I managed to, sabotage my success there. And I had a couple of repeated patterns. And when I say sabotage, I ended up overworking so much and overachieving so much to prove to myself that I was worthy of having this level of success. And of course, I burnt myself out. That's what I mean by self sabotage. Like, it can't be this easy. I have to make it really hard for myself. And I had this pattern a couple of times until I actually stopped and did some self inquiry and went, huh, what's underneath this? I'm too embarrassed to tell my parents how well I'm doing. I don't tell my friends what's happening. I actually feel really alone because I would love to brainstorm and bounce ideas with my peers about what's happening in my career, and I'm not. Why am I not speaking about this? And that led me through this path of self inquiry, which was deep down, I felt actually quite ashamed that my parents had worked their entire lives and set up this, very difficult life for themselves moving abroad and never got a break. And here I was at age 24 with so much ease. And so that's one of the ways that the vows of loyalty can play out. Are you subconsciously not wanting to rub anyone's face in your success? And the truth is, our parents want us to supersede where they were, mostly speaking. They want us to do better and not create, have the same struggles that we have. So it's so important that we start to ask ourselves questions. What judgments am I scared of? Whose opinion seems to matter so much? And once you get underneath that, you get some really powerful insights.
Yeah, we see this family of origin come up a lot when we do money work. So when you start talking about your money blueprint, as you said, those vows of loyalty that are often completely subconscious come out in really, really interesting ways. And whether it's that loyalty, I know I grew up, my dad's English too, and it was all about hard work. Like, we're a hardworking family, we're a hardworking family. And it took a long time. Like you, things in my career were relatively easy, but I would overcompensate for the fact that it was easy because it's not meant to be easy. Nothing in life comes easy, Joe. You have to work hard for everything. Was very much that indoctrination that I had. They were our family values. But ironically, my dad also came up very much through the ranks. My dad started off as an electrician and ended up running the company. So he came through the ranks, but he had this whole, well, I was always an electrician and never had a degree. And so I came up with a father who was also trying to prove himself and had a loyalty to his parents that were very working class. And so this is how this work becomes generational. We just hold on to these ties. And then my dad very much superseded his parents very quickly. And he had a lot of challenges with that. I know he used to send money back to his parents, and that can feel really guilty. Like, do I have to, oh my gosh, I'm a child taking care of my parents? What? That's not necessarily how it's meant to be. And so what I love is in your story, which I'm sure came with a lot of fun and a lot of heartache, is how we do sabotage our success. If we're not aware of it, you will find patterns, and we see this all the time, these patterns of burnout of, well, I can't be too successful. And in Australia, tall poppy syndrome runs deep. And that can be a loyalty to the collective culture, a loyalty to how we do things. I certainly felt my mum was a stay-at-home mum, and it was really tricky for me to, the amount of times she said to me when I was pregnant with my first, well, I know you say you want to go back to work, but when you have the baby, that'll all change, won't it? And then it didn't. And she said, oh, I had my second. And she said, well, surely when you have two, things are going to change. And it was really hard because I know that she wanted me to almost have the life that she did because that's what she wanted and that's what she thought was best. So to then you almost have this vow to the sisterhood of that's how we do it. And so anyone who is bucking those vows, it can take really deep work. Otherwise, for the first part of my parenting journey, I was guilty all the time because I was doing it wrong. And as you said, that all comes down to those pieces that are very much chains to our past, to our upbringing. And we will do whatever it takes almost to honor those chains subconsciously, even if it means sabotaging our wealth, our relationships, our joy, our peace, everything. It's nuts, isn't it?
It is. It's so powerful, and it is possible to switch and reframe the reality. Just one thing that resonated with me with what you said is, it can be slightly lonely when you're, setting out or forging a new path from your family of origin. There's that guilt, but also feeling slightly misunderstood. It's like, oh no, I
Yeah.
do want to go back to work with my second child, and I'm finding it hard. I don't want to say anything to you, Mum, because I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, "Well, just be off work, darling." It can be fraught. It can be fraught, but this is why having these conversations with women who care about work and who care about family or whatever it is you care about, but just having these conversations are so important so that we give ourselves permission to talk about the challenges and the opportunities.
Yeah, I think to me this is, what we're trying to do here is almost build some new loyalties to our future selves. Because one of the things I know you mentioned your family of origin story, one of the things that I have constantly been working through is I often will have loyalties to a past version of myself that I don't relate to anymore, but I haven't let go of whether it was goals or judgments or feelings of safety. And all this reared its head when I started my own business. No one in my family had ever been an entrepreneur. That was everybody had very secure jobs. It was all about the paycheck. Even my husband's family, it was all about get a steady job and be safe and find a stable income. And oh gosh, you never want to be one of those crazy people that takes it all on themselves. And it, to your point, it does get really lonely. And so what happens is when we make those decisions, we've got no one else to hold on to. So we create a whole stack of dreams and goals and aspirations and hooks and anchors for that version of ourselves. But when you hang around us long enough, you evolve a lot and you evolve really quickly. And so, one of the biggest things I've had to do, and even our clients, we have to remind them of is say, hang a second, that doesn't sound like the new Sophie. That sounds like the old Sophie of 2 years ago. And they go, oh, you're right.
Or whose voice is that in my head? Is it my voice? Is it my old voice? Is it my mum's voice? Is it my dad's voice? It's just opening your awareness so that you can have the possibility of thinking about something different.
And that's where it all opens up, right? When you can realize, okay, this is a chain that's holding me back. When you can get the tools to learn how to cut that free, as you said, the self inquiry, the deep work. It's not just saying an affirmation and it's going to go away. There are actual tools and strategies that you need to break these ties. But when you do, my gosh, you get to break these patterns because these patterns are there to teach us a lesson and they keep coming around and around and around again. And I'm pretty sure if I'd have had, not that I would have, but 6 children, after every one, I would have wanted to go back to work. Like no amount of babies was going to make me want to be a stay-at-home mother. As much as I love them and as much as I love being with them, that's not my path. And so when you can, thankfully I didn't have lots of babies, but you can stop, those patterns, whether it's changing jobs, whether it's burning out, whether it's the people pleasing, whatever it is, everyone has their own unique repertoire, if you will, of their self-sabotage programs. And what I love is that, when you and I get on discovery calls with people, you often ask the question, how long has this been going on? The whole proving myself and because they'll say, oh, it's the job. I've got to change the job. And you go, what about your last job? And they go, oh, and what about, in university? Oh, and what about at school? Oh, you mean this is actually you? It's not the job.
We take ourselves with us when we go to different places, and that's the key to lasting transformation. When you understand yourself better, then you get to choose something different. And then you take that with you through each job, through each promotion, and it opens up so much.
And I love that that's when we open up so much more abundance. And this is when we see people now ready to receive big pay rises. And we're talking, 40, 50, 60% pay rises. And these are not $5,000 pay rises. We see huge levels of abundance and joy and fulfillment while working less because we've broken the pattern of having to work to prove yourself. So they're so important, aren't they, Sabina? Any closing thoughts for someone who has recognized, oh, maybe I am loyal to my parents, or maybe I'm loyal to an old boss that I made a promise to, or maybe anyone sitting there going, oh God, I've just seen something that I didn't know about before.
Yeah, and well, not to make yourself wrong, it's not bad. Like, this level of awareness is great, but just giving yourself permission to check in with, what am I worried that I might lose? Or who might I worry that I'll lose if things get easier for me? And then just gently question yourself, is that true? Do I know that that's true? What else is possible? How could things be even better?
And that's what we want, right? It's not about just getting out of the poo pond or getting out of, feeling burnt out and exhausted. These become beautiful questions when we give people, that our sort of introductory toolkit in those first 12 weeks is then they come out going, oh, I had no idea life could be this good. I'm like, oh, no, this is just the beginning. This becomes a beautiful level of investigation of how can I make my life more joyful and more fun and more calm. So that's what we invite you to do. If you recognize some loyalties there, whether it's to an old version of you, to your mother, to your father, to your culture, to the sisterhood, and you're ready to break them, then we happen to know some good tools that can help you with that. So make sure that you sign up to a discovery session. We'll put the link below the show notes, and we would love to help you uncover what's there, and let's break those chains once and for all. Thanks for joining me, Sabina.
Thanks so much, Jo.
Thanks for joining us today on the Balance and Beyond podcast. We're so glad you carved out this time for yourself. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend who might need to hear this today. And if you're feeling extra generous, leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice would mean the world to us. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Balance and Beyond podcast.